In this video today, I'm going to be sharing 13 things that I wish I knew before I came here to Thailand. Okay, so number 13, and this is a little bit of a strange one, but this is creams. Bring your creams with you. So things like your moisturizers, your sun cream, things like that are crazy expensive in Thailand. Now, this is quite strange because everything else is a lot cheaper, right? Your accommodation, your food, your transportation, like most things you can think of are significantly cheaper. But when you're looking at your moisturizers, your sun creams, you're talking 3 to 4 times the prices of the West. Now, a mistake I made when I first came to Thailand was I didn't bring any of that with me, so I just thought, okay, I'll grab it here. And then when I did get here, it was a little bit of a shock. So when I went back to England last year, I absolutely filled up my luggage with sun cream and moisturizers. So that is a little tip in case you're wondering what to bring with you to Thailand. Now, number 12 is around taxis and getting around. So it is relatively common knowledge that the taxi drivers will try and charge you as much as they possibly can, as well as the tuk-tuk drivers, to pretty much get anywhere. Now, a little solution that I've come up with this is, well, first off, you want to download Bolt. That is going to help you get around. Bolt is usually my go-to. However, there is a new one called InDrive, which apparently is becoming very, very popular. But again, a little hack that I've found, just so I can get a rough idea, is if I'm going to get a taxi in particular, I'll go on Bolt and I'll have a look at how much the journey will cost. Now, I might be willing to pay an extra 30 to 50%, maybe for the ease and convenience of hopping in a taxi right there. But am I willing to pay 200-300%? Probably not, and, unless I'm in a hurry. So that's just something to think about. You are going to get tempted to be robbed blind. So you want to find that middle ground of where you're happy to pay, but you're also not being taken advantage of. Now, number 11 is having a flight booked out of Thailand when you arrive. Now, I didn't know this, so when I arrived to Thailand last time, I didn't have a flight booked out of Thailand, so they wouldn't let me in the country. So I got pulled aside and I had to literally sit there and book a flight to the Philippines. So that is just something to consider. You don't want to arrive in Thailand, not have an exit flight booked. You want to make sure you've got one booked outside of the country. Now, look, you don't necessarily need to get on it. You could have a 100% refundable flight, then you can cash it in after you get in. But the point is, you need to have a flight booked out of Thailand in order to get in it. Now, number 10 is not doing enough research to the specific places that I'm actually staying in. It's not really good enough to say, okay, I'm going to go to Phuket and then just head to Phuket, right? Or I'm going to head to Bangkok, I'm just going to head to Bangkok, because these are big places and there's lots of different areas that have lots of different vibes, lots of different feels, and they're all very, very different. So just to give you an example, in terms of Phuket, I don't really like, now I know Patong is a very, very popular area, but that's not where I go to stay. If I was going to Phuket, I would stay in either Kamala or I would stay in Rawai. These are two places I like very, very much. Now, they're far away from each other. They're about 45-50 minute drive away from each other. But the point, and again, when it comes to Bangkok, okay, lots of people stay in the Khao San Road area, and that's cool if you're there for a day or two, but otherwise you want to be on the Sukhumvit Road, generally somewhere between, say, Prakanong or Ekamai up to, say, Chitlom, somewhere like that. So these are big, big places, and not just saying I'm going to go Phuket, I'm going to go Bangkok, I'm going to go Samui, but get clear and say, okay, I'm going to Bangkok, I'm going to stay in Asok, or I'm going to Phuket, I'm going to stay in Rawai or Kamala, or I'm going to go to Koh Samui, I'm going to stay in Chaweng. So you just want to get very, very clear on the areas inside of the destinations that you might have in mind in terms of where you're going to go when you come here. Now, number 9 is plastic, right? Thailand loves to just burn through plastic like it's nobody's business. And at the beginning, you just sort of go about living your life, and next thing you know, you're accumulating straws, bags, like little spoons, just plastic everywhere. And the amount of damage that we as individuals can do to the planet just through not necessarily being aware of just how much plastic we're accumulating when you're in Thailand, it's not good, is it? So just trying to be mindful about plastic consumption and minimizing that where possible, I think is just a good thing to do. Now, number 8, and this is a little bit of a sad one, that is animal cruelty. Now look, lots of people like to view Thailand with rose tinted glasses and think everything is better, and that's simply not the case. You have, of course, isolated problems. There was a horrific video that went viral recently in Thailand about a Thai lady who did something horrific to a dog. And so you have these localized issues, but they are going to be present everywhere. But then you've got these wider issues that are more prevalent across the culture and society as a whole. One example of this would be the elephants, right? So lots of people, when they think about coming here, they want to go and they ride elephants, and they'll go to the popular tourist destinations where the elephants are, and you're riding the elephants. Now, what you don't realize is at these places, these elephants are quite badly mistreated a lot of the time. They're overworked. They shouldn't be giving you these rides, and it's ultimately perpetuating this ongoing cycle of suffering by paying to go and do these things. Another popular one is the tigers, going and seeing the tigers in the cages. Again, this is animal cruelty, and this is something that if we go and we pay money for, we are encouraging this ongoing behavior because we're signaling to the market there is a demand for what it is that they're doing. So something that I had to do recently was, well, we went to the temple, and at the temple they have these little birds in cages, and you can pay to release these birds back into the wild. And I thought this was great. I thought, okay, this is lovely. Then I realized, well, then someone told me that these birds come back after you let them go, and I felt like a twat. And then also, if you're essentially paying for people to capture the birds, because by paying to release the birds, you are, as I said, sending a signal to the market there's a demand for this thing, and encouraging them to go and keep collecting birds. So there is this unfortunate situation where animals are, again, not by everybody, and we can't lose the individual and the collective, but there is widespread animal cruelty. Even with things like go to Chatuchak market, you're going to see it in the markets. And it's just about trying to be aware how potentially our actions sending signals to the market as a whole that there is or isn't a demand for this type of behavior to the animals. Now, number 7 is accommodation. Essentially, the things that I did when I got here was I started using Airbnb. Now, first off, I didn't know Airbnb is actually not allowed in Thailand, so that's just something to be mindful of. But it's also expensive compared to some of the other solutions that are out there. So if you compare it to booking.com or Agoda, you're going to get cheaper accommodation on there. So generally speaking, when I am booking accommodation, I am booking it on booking.com or Agoda because you're going to get the best deals. And number 6 is, it's not that cheap, but it is cheap, right? It is cheap compared to the West, but if you aren't careful, you can up spending a lot of money. Now, a nice reframe is that it's significantly more affordable than the West. But again, cheap is relative. What's cheap to one person isn't cheap to another person. And if you come here and you're drinking and you're partying, you're going to be spending more than you normally would just living at home and not whiling out. So it's just something to be mindful of about actually properly budgeting when you come out here. Now, realistically, around $1,500 a month to live on, you could get by. But I think $2,000 to $2,500 a month is a much more realistic cost of living if you want to live a nice quality of life. Now, in terms of coming here for a holiday, yeah, you're going to want around 100 quid or $100 a day, in my opinion, to go out and absolutely not worry about a thing. Now, of course, 50 a day, you'll get by. But if you're going to be going out, you're going to be getting the rounds in, you're going to be doing this and that, hopping in a bolt, the money is going to eventually start flying out. Now, number 5 is rainy season. So it is dry season between around November to May time, and then after that, between sort of May to November, that's how I'm sort of thinking about it or breaking it up, that's when the rainy season comes in. Now, there can be some good things about rainy season. It's quieter on a lot of the more popular islands, and the accommodation gets very, very cheap. Now, on the negative side, it can, piss it down for about 2 hours a day, quite aggressively. And the speedboats to and from the islands, if you are going to the islands, can get a little bit sketchy. So if you are coming in rainy season, just bear in mind that you could get a little bit wet, but it's only going to last a couple hours, and it can be quite an impressive little lightning show that you get, and the boats can be a bit ratchet. But if you come during the dry season, expect to pay a bit more money. Number 4 is scams. So there's lots of different popular scams that happen in Thailand. One of those is around the Grand Palace near the Khao San area, where the tuk-tuk drivers might pretend that it's shut and try and take you somewhere else. Now, there's different types of scams performed by different types of people, and they're different levels of extremity and severity, should we say. Again, and what you class as a scam and what you don't class as a scam could be somewhat subjective. Now, you could argue that a lot of the foreigners come here and fall in love with the young Thai girls and end up giving them all their money. Is that a scam? Well, maybe, maybe not. Obviously, that is for you to decide. Now, you've got scams and then you've just got crime. So one of my friends, we wonder sometimes, again, can't lose the individual in the collective, right? And something, a singular isolated event does not represent the extrapolate out to society as a whole. But we were warned that sometimes around the nightlife spots, the lady boys can get a little bit pickpockety. And when we were out, one of my friends did have his wallet taken by a lady boy. So, what do you make of that? Okay, number 3, food poisoning, aka Bangkok belly. Now, this was something that I struggled with a lot when I first came to Thailand. Going out, you know, nights out, this, that, you get a little bit of street food, the meat's been sitting there God knows how long. And eventually even just going to eat at restaurants, and I would be getting sick. I mean, I would be getting bad food poisoning once a month. And that is tough. That's tough on the body, really tough on the body, because it's not good. There were some points where I was like, okay, I might need to go to hospital here. And the ways I've found to combat that is a few things. One, I actually limit my meat consumption in general now, but certainly when it comes to eating out at restaurants, I really don't eat much meat. I play it very, very safe on that front. Secondly, living here, not necessarily being on holiday, I actually end up cooking a lot more at home. And okay, yes, you know, you come to Thailand to eat the incredible street food and all the rest of that, but after a while, you do get a little bit sick of the same sort of Thai food. So you end up cooking a little bit more at home, and again, that has been safer for my belly. Now, a tip that I would give is just to bring some medication with you in case you do get sick, because you don't want to find yourself very sick and then be in a position where you now need to go out to a pharmacy where you can barely walk because you're in a pickle, and have to speak to the person that works as the pharmacist and try and configure what's going to be the best medication for you. So bring something with you. All right, number 2, and that is you are going to get warm, very warm. I actually didn't expect how warm I would be when I first came here, and it took me about 3 weeks to acclimate to the climate here. I mean, I would literally say walk 2 minutes down the road, and by the time I got to the BTS, say, I would be drenched in sweat. It would be horrific. And this continued for the first couple of weeks. Now, as I said, you do climatize eventually and you get used to the climate, and you stop just being such a dirty, sweaty, horrible little mess. But you will be hot. Now, when you're on the islands, the heat feels a bit different, but certainly when you're in Bangkok, that mugginess, that humidity, you can really feel it. So just expect to sweat, and maybe don't wear grey. Now, last but certainly not least, at number 1 is loneliness. Now, okay, you're coming on holiday, you're going to be here for a couple of weeks, cool. But if you are thinking about moving here, making friends can be tough. Now, one of the ways to think about this is when you're back home, you've got a large sample size of people to make friends with. When you come over to another country, your sample size of potential connections and friends and meaningful relationships shrinks because there's simply a smaller sample size of people. Secondly, you've then got to think about, okay, well, where am I going to potentially meet people? Now, for me, I'm not a big drinker. I don't really go to the bar. So where are you going to meet? How are you going to socialize? So I became quite proactive in joining different communities, such as spiritual meditation communities, that allowed me to connect with people. Now, I've been in Thailand for coming up to 2 years, and I've got like 5 or 6 friends here. And that's not because I'm a horrible bastard.
I hope not.
It's just because, one, I'm quite selective over who I spend time with and who I associate with, because I know you become the 5 people you spend the most time with. But secondly, it's just not that easy to meet good people. So if you do come here, 2 words of wisdom. 1, be proactive in meeting good people by looking at different events and different communities you can join. And 2, just keep up your relationships with the people back home, because sometimes that digital communication can be key. So I want to interrupt this video to say every week on a Tuesday, I send out a newsletter called Trippy Tuesday. So I share information about what it's like living here in Thailand and Southeast Asia, as well as practical things that you can do to make money online. So if you're on TV, you can scan the QR code here and enter your details. Or if you are on your phone, click the link in the pinned comment or description, enter your details, and I'll send you an email every Tuesday with actionable things that you can do or you can use to improve your life. So there we have it. They are 13 things I wish I knew before I came to Thailand. If you did like this video, I would appreciate a little like on the video. Apparently it makes a difference for the algo. And if you like this type of content, please do think about giving the channel a subscribe as well. And whilst we're here, why don't you click the next video suggested here? Because again, it's going to touch on things very similar to this, and I think you'll get a ton of value. But thank you so much for watching, and peace. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time watching this video today. I just wanted to let you know that I've actually put together a 100% free training video on the 5-step process that I use to build online businesses so I can make several $1,000s a month online and travel the world. So if that's the kind of thing you want to do, if you yourself want to be a digital nomad, you want to make money online, travel the world, live in different places all over the globe, then perhaps you could get some value out of that free training. So if you head to the description of this video, you'll see a link next to free training, something like that. You can click the link and check that out, and I hope that brings you some value. But thank you so much for watching the video, and peace.